This graphing calculator video follows along with Roman numeral 5 on the graphing calculator worksheet. I will be showing keystrokes for the TI-83 and TI-84 calculators that do not have the latest operating system. So part 5, we're working on evaluating a function at a given value. And our function is negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. So let's start by going ahead, finding your y equals, and plugging the function in here. Negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. Now this problem is really asking us to evaluate f of negative 14. And remember, what that really means is I'm wanting to input negative 14 for x. I want to substitute negative 14 in place of x. And there's several ways of doing this on the calculator. One way would be to use the table feature. So remember, above the graph key it says table, so you could go second table, and you could scroll through your table to an x value of negative 14, and then look at the corresponding y value. So it looks like if I scroll enough, it looks like when I have an x value of negative 14, my y value is negative 319. So that's using the table to evaluate the function at negative 14. Now let's look at the graph. So whenever we're graphing, I always recommend you go to your zoom button, choose number 6 to reset your window. And you should see a nice parabola that's facing down. And if you go above the trace button where it says your calc menu, calculate, go second, calc. We've been here before, but we've never used number 1, which says value. So let's try this. If we calculate a value, now the calculator is going to ask you for an x value, and then it'll return to you a y value. But notice what happens if you type in negative 14 here and press enter. You're going to get an error here. So anytime you have an error, you always want to choose number 2, which says go to, because it'll take you to where the error has occurred. So choose number 2, and you'll see the cursor right here is over the negative. The reason for this is because our window right now only goes to x equals negative 10. So this particular functionality on the calculator, it's not going to work if your window is not large enough for the x value that you're typing in. So if you wanted to use this feature, you'd have to go to your window and adjust it. So let's choose an x minimum smaller than negative 14. How about negative 20? Excuse me, 20. Alright, so now let's go back to our graph. Now we see more in the negative x direction. And let's repeat those keystrokes. Second, calc, choose number 1, value. And now you can type in negative 14 and press enter. And you can see it returns to you a y value. Now, of course, I'm not actually seeing this point on the curve because I did not change my y minimum to be small enough, but it will let me input negative 14 because I do have that x value here in my window. So my y value is negative 319. So that's using the table as well as the graph to calculate a y value for a given x value. But the fastest way would be to go to your home screen. So second, quit. So fastest way to calculate using function notation, f of negative 14, is to remember that the calculator actually does understand function notation. Excuse me. So when we say f of negative 14, we can actually type that in. We just can't use the letter f. So you'll notice, remember, in our y equals, where we have our function, the name for this function, rather than your calculator calling this function f, your calculator calls it y1. So go ahead and quit again. We need to find where that y1 is located on the calculator, and it's from your vars button. Right next to the clear key, where it says vars, which stands for variables, go ahead and go to vars. You're going to arrow to the right over to y vars, and then you'll choose number 1, which is function. We're in function mode, and here's our list of all of our different y's. And our function is in y1, so you'll just go ahead and choose number 1. And then you'll put parentheses with your negative 14, just as if you were writing function notation. So rather than writing f of negative 14, we write y1, parenthesis, negative 14 on our calculator. And again, what this is going to do is it's going to take negative 14, it will substitute it in for x in whichever function you have right now stored in your calculator in your y1. Enter, and you see it returns that value for you. Let me do that one more time because this is a sequence of keystrokes that's really important, one that you'll use over and over again. So you want to be comfortable with it. It's vars, arrow to the right, y vars, choose the first one, which is function, and then choose the first one again, which is your y1, parenthesis, negative 14. Close parenthesis, and then enter. So f of negative 14 is negative 319.